We had a problem in my family for a while, and I think I'm emotionally comfortable telling you about it now because enough time has passed. But maybe a year ago or so, we were having an issue as a family with leaving our garage door fully open overnight in our neighborhood here. And there's stuff in the garage. We got a car in there and tools. This little scooter, it's an electric scooter that we like to ride around on. That was in there. Baseball gloves. We had baseball gloves. I really like my baseball glove. I've had it all the way since college, and it's still my favorite one. No other baseball glove will ever be the same. Just think about what would happen if somebody broke in there and stole my baseball glove. That made me really sad to think about that. And for several days over the span of a month, maybe like 5 days in the span of a month or 2 months, I'd wake up in the morning and the garage door was open. So I walked them all out there one day. I'm like, look, what's wrong here? And they all knew because they're smart and they speak English. And they're like, well, the garage doors, it was left open. I was like, right. So who left it open? And they'd eventually figure out who it was. I explained to them that the cool thing about having a garage door is that you can close it, but that it is terribly ineffective when left open for long periods of time, especially unsupervised periods of time during the night. And even though most of our neighbors are real cool, when you leave the garage door open overnight, it's like you're inviting people to come steal your stuff. It's like you're telling everybody that your stuff is fair game and they should just come on in there and help themselves whatever they want, like your electric scooter or your baseball glove. Those things did not get stolen. I still have the electric scooter and I still have my precious baseball glove from college. And all the kids understood and they cleaned up their act. And there's been no more of that kind of shenanigans. The garage door is getting shut all the time now. And likewise, in Nehemiah chapter 7, there used to be not gates on the walls, but now they got the gates on the walls. They used to not have the metaphorical garage door, but now they got the metaphorical garage doors. It was very difficult to put these things in. It wasn't like one afternoon like how we got our garage door put in. Everybody had to quit their jobs for a while, and it took a borderline bureaucratic miracle to get the throne to sign off on this back in Susa, the Persian throne, Artaxerxes, to sign off on this thing. And people are trying to kill him. But somehow, against all odds, they got a wall built and they got the metaphorical garage door. They got the gates put up. But now there's a question. How do you use gates? How does that actually work? What's the game plan? Who's in charge of the gates? And I think as we look at Nehemiah chapter 7 and verse 3, what we find out is that there may have been a little internal debate even about exactly what the right way would be to use the gates. Nehemiah 7:3, behold, I said to them, this is Nehemiah talking, the gates of Jerusalem are not to be opened until the sun is hot. While the gatekeepers are still on duty, have them shut the doors and bar them. Also, appoint residents of Jerusalem as guards, some at their posts and some near their own houses. Okay, so who is them? Because it opens with, I said to them. Well, it's got to be Hanani and Hananiah, the two guys who are going to be in charge of Jerusalem. Hananiah, you'll recall, is referred to as Nehemiah's brother. He's the dude who shows up in Nehemiah 1, the guy I imagine in the soaking wet cloak, arriving late at night on the hard ride, and though exhausted, he crashes into Nehemiah's quarters and is like, I have a desperate message for you, dear brother. The people of Jerusalem are in great distress and suffering. The walls are knocked over and the gates are burned and the enemies seek to destroy us. What shall we do, brother? That guy, Hanani, who gets the narrative and is a person of integrity and has been appointed to a position of leadership over Jerusalem because of his integrity and because he gets the narrative. He is one of the people Nehemiah is talking to in here, verse 3. And then Hananiah, the guy who's described as a, quote, man of integrity who feared God more than most men do. How cool is it that that's what that guy gets to be known for forever? I wonder what they would say right now if they wrote a Bible like right now and I was in it. I'd be afraid that my legacy would be something like, he was really good at Star Fox 64, or for whatever reason, he couldn't burp, or no movie ever spoke to his heart like James Cameron's Titanic, and he went to it 43 consecutive days in theaters. I don't know if any of those things are even true, but this is a really good legacy for Hananiah to have here, a man of integrity who feared God more than most. So that's who Nehemiah is talking to about the gate plan, how we're going to manage the metaphorical garage doors now that we have them to manage. And what he's saying is, the gates of Jerusalem are not to be opened until the sun is hot. Sounds like my instruction to my kids. We're going to make sure that the gates are closed all night during stealing hours. We're not going to trust the neighbors and just assume it's going to work out. We're not going to tempt whoever should happen to walk by. The gates will be closed. We worked really hard to pay for these and to build them. We're going to close them, and we're not going to open them until well into the day. I mean, that language, don't open them up until the sun is hot. That means we're not going crack of dawn here, 6:30 a.m. or 8 in the morning even. We're talking about brunch time or like an early lunch is when the gates are finally going to be opened. Why? Because it's the highest traffic time. It's when there would be the most demand to get into the city, but it's also when the most people are going to be up and about and attentive, and it gives you the least chance of anybody getting away with shenanigans because there's going to be a ton of eyes on these gates. It would seem that these are not normal instructions, or why would they be recorded in Nehemiah? It looks like in the ancient world, from everything I have ever seen, that standard peacetime procedure is you open the gates for the morning crowd. You're going to have the city starting to bustle and move, and a lot of people, most people in many ancient cities, lived outside the walls, and they're eagerly waiting to get access to the city where business occurs and friends and family are at, and the gossip happens, and you read the morning paper at the cafe with your buddies or whatever. So the gates would open at daylight, and they would close at nighttime or about whenever you would wrap up your late supper, and they're closed through the whole night. So this is not peacetime procedure. Nehemiah is giving them conflict time procedural instructions for what to do at the gate. And I think that's very important to note, because surely there were people, based on the way this passage reads, who wanted to treat it like peacetime. Just leave the gates open all day long so people can come and go. And one of the things Nehemiah wants to get in order before he goes clear back across everything to Susa is he wants to make sure that the gates are used properly, that they do what they're supposed to do, and that people stay in a state of heightened alertness and don't get fat and complacent and lazy again, but instead remember that there are people who want you dead. They want to destroy what you just built, and they're probably not going to be able to do that from the outside. But, speaking in Nehemiah's voice here, remember what happened, what I said in that little bit at the end of chapter 6? Remember all the stuff that happened before? They will try to destroy us from the inside. We need to limit their access to the inside, metaphorically and literally. Now, the gates represent the division, the point of division between people who have no part in this inheritance and people who have full ownership of this inheritance, both by merit of what they just got done doing in terms of building, and also by merit of being a part of the family of Abraham, descendants of Abraham. So he's given them this instruction. He's saying this to Hananiah and Hanani. And I got to think that part of the reason they're getting appointed is because they're on the same page with Nehemiah in terms of the gate policy. And the gate is a metaphor for open borders or closed borders. Nehemiah is a closed borders guy. We are us, they are them. They don't like us and want to kill us and undermine us. That's why we built these walls, so that we would have this space, this citadel, this temple set aside, and we're going to make use of this border that we just created for these purposes. Remember who you're dealing with. He goes on. While the gatekeepers are still on duty, so these aren't just gate guards, these are the gatekeepers. These are the people who are the deciders who follow through on Hanani and Hananiah's instructions for who gains access to the city. They're given very specific instructions. These people, if they're doing that, fine. If people are coming to do this kind of business, fine. Inquire of everyone as they come in. These guys, like Sanballat, Tobiah, Geshem, and their family, no. They don't get to come in. They don't get access. They would have to go through an incredibly difficult, convoluted diplomatic procedure to gain any access to come in here. They're not welcome. Again, these instructions would not be in the text here as something Nehemiah felt he needed to clarify if there weren't people who were in opposition who felt like it was a mean gesture to close the gates. Let's keep them open. That's a way to be conciliatory toward our neighbors. Like, let's mingle here. Nehemiah is saying, no, that's not what we're going to do with this city. Also, appoint residents of Jerusalem as guards, some of them at their posts and some near their own houses. Wow. So before, they built near their own houses. Now they're going to take turns guarding near their own houses. Clearly, Nehemiah is still viewing the situation as code orange, one notch, one color level below full-on active hostility. And even if everybody else is ready to exhale and let their guard down, he is not, and he's making it a top priority to make sure that the walls and the gates they just put all of this work into get used for what they are supposed to do, because all the walls and all the gates in the world don't matter if nobody keeps tabs on the gates, and nobody's going to keep tabs on the gates if they don't understand that there is a threat outside the gates and something worth protecting inside the gates. So in the same way that we had to have a deep personal heart-to-heart with the kids over the issue of making sure to close the garage door at night, so Nehemiah is having to have a heart-to-heart with the people who are going to make the decisions in his stead about when the gates are opened and when they are not. But this is one more point where Nehemiah, bit by bit, is pulling the corruption out by the root and building out this new version of Jerusalem that is designed to set the people up for success moving forward. And finally, I screwed up. It's a simple task. It's a very simple task. I told you that if you were supporting the program at any level, that I wanted to send you a cool sticker that I had made in honor of our accomplishment of completing the book of Matthew together a while back. And I did that. I got the stickers, I put them in envelopes, and then I sent them. But there are some of you who you got the envelope and you got the label on it with your name, and there's a stamp on there, but what you didn't get was the sticker, which was the reason that I was sending you things in the first place. I literally forgot to put the sticker in some of these, so that happened. Those of you who got the envelope and the sticker was in it, that's because Camilla did those, and she did things that made sense. The ones of you who just got an empty envelope and were like, what are we doing here? Why are the things like this? That was me. That was my bad. I did those ones. So I would like to fix that. And it's funny because a bunch of you've written me these really nice notes where you're like, Matt, I'm so sorry. I got that, but there was no sticker in there. Could I pay you? That is so kind and so generous of you. No, you cannot pay me to send you another sticker. I'm just going to buy more stickers and send them to you. I'm so sorry. It was a headache. There is a link down below. And I'm sorry to impose on you a request for any more of your time on my embarrassing sticker fiasco. For those of you who just got the empty envelope, could you go down and click on that? And I think it'll just be like a question or two so that I know who to correct the mistake with. And then I will, as quickly as possible, get those right back out to you. And thank you for your patience. And I'm sorry. And at least it's all very funny. We can just laugh about this together. Not even down the road. We can just laugh about it together right now. Okay, this concludes my botched sticker hand in hat humiliation ritual announcement, and we will resume with Nehemiah things next time around. Matt, this is the 10-Minute Bible Hour podcast. What am I doing? Let's do this again soon.